If y'all have noticed, my son and wife and daughter are outside. We had to take HT3, he's the third one. So you would hope by the third version it'd be an improved model. Unfortunately, right now we're in question as to whether or not the third version of Eliodoro Torres Sanchez is an improved model. So he's out there running crazy right now, which is good. That he's fenced in so that he doesn't get arrested, because he probably would if we let him loose out in the public. So he's a wild little guy. But well, today was our first day of school, and so I look forward to getting the final numbers tomorrow on what our enrollment is. But I know that we're about 300 students up at one of our high schools, and there's another that we're about 100 students up. And in taking a look at some of our elementary schools in the area, we're also, we've seen an increase in enrollment. So that's a good thing. What we've also noted is many of our campuses in the district have improved in their letter grade. And so that's very impressive. We have two principals in the back of the room here. And so I think they deserve a round of applause. Their leadership with teachers really have made a positive impact in our community. And so we were 2 points away from being a B district. So that's very, very impressive, which means we have a great foundation from which to build. And we visited with principals. I'm, as a superintendent, taking a very personal and direct interest in working with our principals. And as we have our instructional leadership academies, I will lead those in large part, because I want to hear directly from the principals. I don't want there to be layers and filters between the conversation and the dialogue that we need to have about what we can do to make this a destination district. And by destination district, what I mean, this is a place where people come to see what we do. I'll tell you all just a brief story. I came from West Texas, Odessa, Texas. And in the late 90s, Ector County ISD was under a desegregation court order. And part of our work was to create magnet programs that were outstanding magnet programs. And so we loaded a group of administrators and teachers in a Suburban, and we came out to Tucson. This was in around 98, 99. And we came to look at the dual language models that were in Tucson. And the reason we came to look at them is they were known nationally as the best dual language models. And so it was very unfortunate in 2002 when bilingual education ceased to exist in Arizona. If you want to know in the pure form what that Tucson dual language model looks like, you can go to Odessa, Texas, to Cameron Elementary School, and you'll see the dual language model that existed here in Tucson. The reason I mention that is Tucson in the 90s, late 90s, it was a destination district. It was a place that people from far and wide, 2 states away, came to see what was the best practice in education, and to talk to the teachers and to talk to the administrators and talk to the community and to ask, tell me, how have you reached such high levels of success for your students? Because we want that too. And so that's around 13 years ago, 14 years ago. It's not so far gone that we don't remember that. And when you take a look at the improvements that have been made in terms of the academic performance, and if what I anticipate holds true and we have an increase in enrollment on many campuses, it shows that there is a lot of good that's occurring in the district. So these types of meetings are very important to me. I had promised the board, and we have a board member here. I'm not going to let her hide in the back. We have Miss Crystal Foster, one of our board members. The board was very intent upon wanting to establish Tucson Unified School District as a destination district, and what was going to be my part in doing that. And I had assured them that as many opportunities as I had to go out to the community and to share the work that we would do, I would take those opportunities. And so I appreciate y'all being the second group to invite me out to come and visit. And so I look forward to the partnerships with with the southwestern part of our school district, and in really developing those partnerships, because one of the key things to note is when people decide where they want to live, where they want to move, where they want to go, what they always take a look at is the educational system. And they want to hear about the educational system. They want to talk to people about the educational system. And you in this room, and our principals and our educators, you're all ambassadors for the good work that we do. You know, I don't put the burden on the newspaper or the media for telling our story. Their job is to tell their story. And nobody can blame them for telling their story. But it's our job to tell our story about what we do well. And so it's through conversations like this that we're able to do that. That a district with 51,000 students is 2 points away from being the largest B district in the state of Arizona. That's impressive. That's impressive that we had campuses that jumped 1 and 2 letter grades. That's impressive. I mean, that doesn't happen by accident. That happens with a lot of intentionality and a lot of attention to detail. And so in terms of what's next, what we're looking at is around December and January is really focusing on a 5-year strategic plan. And unless you're the cell phone company Virgin Mobile, it's not good to live life without a plan. I mean, I know that's their hook, live life without a plan. Well, you can't do that in our work. You have to have a plan, because if not, the crisis of the day or of the moment tends to define you. And the only way you can define what will be success is to set that plan forward and to follow it and to pursue it. And then you deal with the other things as they come about. And what our strategic plan will focus on will be 5 areas. And y'all have the cameras going on your cell phones, and I will not pull a Rick Perry. I will remember all 5 areas. So the first one is our curriculum, or our teaching and learning practices. The second one is finance. The third one is facilities. The fourth one is our diversity, and the fifth one is communication. We have to be excellent in all of those areas. And so the goal is in December and January is to invite people in who represent the different parts of our community. Not the richest, not the most good looking, because I wouldn't be invited to that. So it's to invite people in who want to have a voice, who want to say, here's the direction that we need to take in Tucson Unified in those 5 areas. And my work's going to be to identify national experts in each of those 5 areas, to come in and in a seminar format say, all right, here's the best in teaching and learning in districts the size of Tucson Unified and bigger. Here's what they've done. It allows us to hear from the national experts, and then to break into focus groups, have the conversation of, all right, so what out of that do we want? To put that to paper, to put it to a plan, to get people who are passionate about that, to set, here's our 5-year goal. Here's where we are now. Here's the distance we have to travel and the decisions that we will make to get there. And what it aligns for the administration, the board, the principal, the teacher, the parent, the student, is the use of our money, how we levy our magnet programs, specialty programs, how we address our facilities, how we communicate, how we hire people, what we hire them to do. Because it's difficult to say, I want you to come work in Tucson District 1 unless I can say, here's the profile of who I need so that we can achieve this 5-year goal. So right now, if you ask, what's the profile of a Tucson Unified School District teacher, administrator, you'll get some semblance of a common dialogue. What we want is that to be tightly knit, to where you can ask anybody in the district, anybody in the community, define a principal, define a teacher in this district. What do they do? What do they offer? What are their characteristics? What are their traits? And somebody can lay that out to you. They can say, here's what a Tucson teacher is like and offers to our kids. Here's what a Tucson administrator does and offers to our teachers to remove barriers so that they can teach our kids. And so we're on the path to doing that work. And the reason I mention that is you have to have that goal. You have to have that magnetic north that drives you forward, because if not, anything can distract you. Our work doesn't need to be defined by our email inbox. Our work needs to be defined by the greater goal for the greater good of all of our students. Because as we have a great school district, We draw in businesses to Tucson. We draw in people that want to come and live and work here. Because this district is pivotal to Tucson. Tucson will go as the district goes. And there's no way that the community can be a great community unless the school district is a great school district. And anybody who believes that charters can fill the void, there aren't enough charters to fill that void. And I can't tell you how many students I've seen through the campuses I visited. I asked, where did you go last year? And some said, well, we tried a charter, but we're coming back. And that's powerful because it's about kids for us. It's about their success. It's about their future. That's what's important. That's what drives us. That's what we wake up to do every day. And so I'll leave y'all with this. The 5-year plan is very important because we have to have something that we pursue. And our goal will be to get community members, and that's my son. I think they're about to grab him, and you know, we're old school, so she has a chancla, it's probably going to be used. Worked for me. So, but the whole goal with our 5-year plan is the 5-year plan will be brought together by the community. It'll be something that will help drive our work forward. It'll be something that we'll take before our governing board, and we'll ask our governing board for their approval of it. And that'll give it power, because then that helps us drive hiring decisions, financial decisions, facility decisions, how we communicate, and what we do with teaching and learning. And it keeps us literally all on the same page and moving in the same direction. It eliminates the temptation to allow the latest, shiniest thing with a big research-based sticker, or the fancy person giving an endorsement to a new program. It eliminates that, and it focuses on the main thing. And if you focus on the main thing, you'll get there. If you allow yourself to be sidetracked, you won't get there. And I'll end with this, and I'll be so bold as to end with this. I know that the Arizona Department of Education is paying particular attention to Tucson Unified. And that's okay. I want them to. I want them to because of the good work that we're going to do. And I know that there's a focus on curriculum that we're developing with a particular perspective, our African American perspective, our Hispanic perspective. And we're also working on curriculum to infuse in our Native American, our Asian American perspective to really honor all of the groups. But those two are the big ones. It's in our unitary status plan to move us to unitary status. And our goal is to do good by our students. And if we do that, everything else takes care of itself. And so what I want to issue as an assurance is we practice an open arms policy of partnership. Our arms will be open for partnership. That's what we want to pursue. Our arms will be open for partnership. But the work is the work, and the right thing's the right thing, and we have to move forward in that. We want to also set our plan so that we can pursue that. And the work that we do with our unitary status plan is within the major work that we do, so that we don't have the desegregation plan as an issue over here and our 5-year plan. It has to be one, and that's what we focus on, and that's what moves us forward. The saying about united we stand, divided we fall, it's true. So as a district this big, we have to be united, and we can be successful. It's very fortunate that we have 51,000 students and we're the size we are, because we're big enough to offer every type of program for every type of learner, but small enough to be personable and to get to know everybody. This is the biggest small community I've ever been a part of, and I think that's the beauty and the appeal of Tucson, and that's the beauty and appeal of our school district. So if there are any questions I can answer, I'll be more than happy. So I can read mine too.
Huh?
So I can read mine too. So I saw that.
No, actually, you answered a lot of the questions in the beginning of your presentation, and I just want to pick up and I want to say thank you for going to the JVYC. That's something John Petticone would have never done, and coming out here and that shows outreach.
Yes, ma'am.
However, there's a group of people, and and they've spoken to you already in the call to audiences, and you talk about diversity and partnership. How are you going to find partnership with a state superintendent and an attorney general who are so steadfast and hard-nosed about grinding anything that has to do with ethics studies to a halt and just, like I said it last week, whitewashing it. What kind of steps are you going to take to overcome that kind of opposition? Because it's going to be difficult to do. So how do you get that partnership? I mean, what are you going to do specifically to try and resolve that issue, that big thorn that's been in the side of, that's dividing our community?
Right. Well, you know, I'm very intent on the right thing is the right thing. And when you take a look at what's in the unitary status plan, it's in there, and it's in black and white. And so when you have a federal court order that's in black and white, and you have members of the community that were passionate enough to get it into black and white, and you're the superintendent of the district that has that as a charge, you do the right thing, and the right thing is right there in writing, and so it's a matter of moving it forward. My role is, and what I've done is, it seems like in this very modern age, we write letters back and forth, which I think is very polite and very classic. And so they've written me a few letters, and I've written a letter back. And my letter wasn't a 5 or 6 page letter. My letter was a very short 1-page letter. And my 1-page letter says, we're committed to the work and we're going to do the work. And come and partner with me. In my letter to the state superintendent, I invited him to, him or his deputy or any of his staff to come and join me and our team. And we would go to the classes where the literature courses, because they've been approved by our governing board, where the literature classes are being taught. I invited them to come and go with me. And so partnership is about opening the doors and opening your arms and inviting them in. Of course, they have to follow through with coming, but it doesn't mean I stop asking and I stop inviting. It also doesn't mean that we stop working. We have to work and we have to do the right thing. But I think where we've learned many lessons is we've written down our curriculum, we've sent it off for review, we've gotten feedback, we've incorporated feedback from the Arizona Department of Education. And our big thing is we don't want to lose the substance and the core and the heart of our curriculum. And a lot of that is found not in the words, but in what the students take away from it and what we put forward. So in the end, we'll continue to do the right thing by what's in the court order, because that is law. That's federal law. And we'll always be respectful of the state superintendent and the perspective, but the work is a work and we move forward. And my job is not to be adversarial, but to be inviting. My job isn't to stop the work and to be timid, but to be determined that we're going to do it. And that's where we are. And I'm very fortunate that we have the support of a governing board and of a community that wants to see us to unitary status, to doing the right things, the multiple right things that are in the unitary status plan.
What are the chances of returning the banned books into the classrooms?
Well, in terms of taking a look at books that were removed from the classroom previously, it's a matter of taking a look at the curriculum and seeing where those books fit in, and if they fit in, they'll be brought before the governing board. Some of the books that were removed had never been approved by the governing board. Other books had been approved by the governing board. So I think what would be advantageous would be, as the curriculum's developed, as the teachers bring forward the books and materials that they want to use, it's a matter of coming before the governing board and asking for their approval for the materials to be used. Some of the books may be books that were previously removed. Some may be new materials. But I think what makes sense is it fits within the context. If you will, imagine your closet with your rod where you hang your clothes. The scope and sequence is that rod. The hangers with the clothes, the different articles of clothing, are the books and the materials. But they have to hang on something. You can't have something that hangs on nothing. It'll fall to the floor.
Right.
So now that we have that rod, so to speak, and we have the materials that will be hung on that rod, that'll be items that the teachers will bring forward to the team, myself, and that I'll bring forward to the governing board for approval or disapproval. But nonetheless, there will be a process, and the process will be honored. And the process exists, and it's in policy, and it's practiced in every other academic discipline that we offer, as well as a co-curricular, and so we'll honor that same process.
So if you feel that you're doing the right thing by following through the unitary status plan, and I was there through the whole thing, I went to all the forums, so I know what's included, And you still have opposition from the state superintendent, and we have to include the Attorney General with this
Right.
whole thing, because he's the one that started and swore that he was going to follow through.
Right.
And they start coming down with their threats and their threats of fines, and then that's what they did last time, and you know, I don't know why they just didn't file an injunction
Sure.
on the fine until they, you know, went to court to whatever, you know what I'm talking
Right,
about.
right.
So what's going to happen if they come down and try to bully the district again in that manner?
Well, you know, I've been very consistent in what I've said, and so we'll continue to follow the federal court order, and until the federal judge tells us to stand down, we have to follow the federal court order. The only thing that changes the direction is if the federal judge comes in and he says stand down and go in another direction, and he eliminates that aspect of the federal court order. As long as it's in there, it is what it is, and we do it and we pursue it.
So as we all know, the federal law trumps state law. Is that kind of what you're saying?
You know, I think the Constitution says that.
Okay.
So
Well, okay,
it's
there
just a
you go.
matter
Well-
of repeating what is in what's you know, within the 10th Amendment, and the 10th Amendment is very clear in that those things are the purview and at the discretion and at the pleasure of the federal government are those things that, and then those things that are not are left to the states. And so the arbitrator in this case is the judge,
Okay.
and he is the one that decides, with input from the special master who the judge assigned, as to whether or not something is the purview of the federal government or of the state or of the local governing board.
Okay, well, thank you very
Yes,
much.
ma'am.
Because not very often we get to have dialogue
Yeah.
with the superintendent. I appreciate
Stop
your
by
time.
and see me anytime.
Oh,
I welcome
okay.
you. I welcome you.
You don't want to say that, but
So-
yeah.
No, I'm
Okay.
genuine in that. I
Okay.
mean, truly, Karen Bynum is my secretary, and I'd be more than happy to just.
Can I bring some friends too?
So, I don't know if office is big enough, but I'd be more happy to visit with you, and,
Okay.
and we can go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr.
Yes, sir.
I read you before at the USD building
Yes, sir.
with my aunt. Do you know if you remember me?
See, all right, so your,
My brother.
yeah,
Little
your
brother.
aunt, I think she was a teacher, right?
Wow.
And he was a littler guy, right? And y'all were getting ready to go to school. And so remind me which school? Right here, right? All right, so yes, I remember I met y'all actually outside and it was kind of hot, so we went inside.
Yeah,
So you have to tell me who's number 24 for the Lakers.
right.
My goodness. You know I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan, so it's kind of hard for me to cheer for the Lakers, but I'll go for them if you go for them. So thank you. It's a good question.
Oh, and I also like the car.
Oh, thank you, thank you. You know, you go to college and you graduate, you can get like 3 or 4 of them. So that's how it works. Well, very good, very good. Yes, ma'am.
I have a comment, you may not like it.
That's fine.
Do you plan on fulfilling your contract as superintendent of
I
the
do.
school district?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
The reason I ask, in the 20 years I worked for the school districts, we've been through at least 6 or 7 different superintendents. They decided to adios
So
and leave everybody standing.
here's my question to the community. Will the community fulfill its obligation to support the work that we're doing for students? And if the community will do that, then no superintendent will ever want to leave. That's key. If the community will support the work and believe in the work and believe in the schools and believe in the children and believe in the progress, no superintendent will want to leave. Because when you take a look at the difference in benefits and salaries and all of that, it's really not all that much from place to place. It's really not. It's like anything, you know, people fall in love with each other, and you know, my wife won't let me fall out of love with her or else. But it's about the relationship, and as long as the relationship's there, and the willingness to move through the tough times together is there, then a relationship will only get stronger through those things. And so I'm committed to my contract. That's you know, if I wasn't committed to my contract, the district where I came from, on the night that it was on a Saturday that I signed the document and sent it to the governing board. The following Monday, where I have a house where my brother lives, where my parents are 2 hours away, where my wife's family's 2 hours away,
They want you to stay.
they were going to make me the lone finalist. So if I had any intent of not fulfilling the contract, I never would have signed it at the beginning.
Thank you.
So, yes, sir.
That kind of leads to my question is Why Tucson, why TUSC?
Sure. You know, when my wife and I were talking about it, this is the oldest school district in the state of Arizona. I mean, it's Tucson District 1. And that 1 is powerful. It's in that little U. And unless you know it, you really don't see it in there. And so what's impressive about Tucson District 1 is it has a lot of history. And there have been a lot of people that have come into the district and partnered and really written some outstanding chapters in this district's history. And then there have been some that didn't stay long enough to author a page. And what an opportunity to come in, especially with the unitary status plan, and to work with the community, not just to meet the USP because it's a legal requirement, but to do great work, something that'll live past the USP. You know, a reporter had asked me, she made a statement to me, she said, Dr. Sanchez, you know, the world and the nation at minimum are going to be watching Tucson Unified because of this big desegregation, and, you know, how do you feel about that? And I told her that's the second time I heard that said to me in 3 years, because in Ector County I had the opportunity to work with 4 attorneys in Washington, D.C. on the student disbursement plan after we had reached unitary status, by which we were addressing a long-standing Supreme Court decision in Parents Involved East Seattle. And I had the opportunity to write the formula for it, and how you can distribute students and have diversity without using race as a sole criteria. I wrote this algorithm for it and worked with 4 attorneys. They captured it in language. And so somebody at that point in time had said the same thing to me. The NAACP actually uses that formula as a model by which they share with other districts on how you distribute students, and you meet the goal of diversifying schools, but the Supreme Court said you can't use race anymore, but yet you still get diversity. And so what's exciting is what an amazing place, what an amazing district, what an amazing history. And as I told you on my introduction, with people coming in from Ector County, from Texas, to see what Tucson was doing with bilingual and dual language education. And I want us to be that place and then some. And that was what was very appealing. Also, so many restaurants. So
Just one more follow-up question. Oh, are you done?
If you get a chance, maybe you could forward some of that to me. I'd really be interested.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, with all these plans, and you know, it sounds wonderful and everything. How will you measure your own success? What accomplishments will you identify as, okay, this is where I feel good about what's going on?
Right.
How are you going to measure the success of your
Sure.
plans?
We want to see continued progress, and I'll say it this way. The first thing we have to do is we have to get our effectiveness and efficiency audit done, because I want to be able to hire teachers and pay them the most in Southern Arizona. I want to be able to hire them first and fastest. I want to have the most efficient system for doing that and getting them out to the campuses, so that we fill our jobs and our teaching slots before any other district in the Southern Arizona area. So that's a big piece. So I want us to be very efficient and very effective in how we use our dollars and what our business practices are. That's one measure, and that'll go into the long-range plan. The other one will be with a curriculum audit. I want us to have a curriculum that is provided with resources, material, and professional development across the district, that if that were all we were to do, kids would graduate college and career ready, or ready to go into the armed forces with the skills they needed to ascend quickly. And so that's going to be a measure, because we shouldn't have a district that has pockets of excellence here and there. The entire district should be excellent. And when somebody says, well, where should I live, next to which school, we should say anyone you want. And so that's going to be a measure of success, will be, can we get that consistent curriculum going to where this curriculum will guarantee that if a teacher teaches this and that's all they do, they're ready for the next grade level, all the way up to 12th grade. The other piece, of course, I mentioned is facilities. I want to take a look at where our populations are. I want to take a look at the median age of neighborhoods. I want to take a look at where developers are platting land. I want to take a look at where permits are being pulled for revitalizations of new neighborhoods or old neighborhoods within town. I want to see where our schools are and what their capacities are. And then I want to see if we offer any specialty magnet programs that attracts kids to those. And if those things don't line up, we have to have a good plan that puts our schools where our families are and puts in our schools the program and support that our families want. And we have to be responsive, like any company, to what the market is asking for, which means we have to be open to asking what people are interested in, and there are a myriad of ways of doing that, and this is just merely one, because by the questions that you're asking, it gives me insight into what you expect.
Do you anticipate any more school closures?
You know, it's hard to answer that question, and so I'm not going to answer it like a politician. I'm going to answer it like somebody who's been in a chief financial officer's role. As long as we're able to increase our student attendance, as long as we're able to get in as many kids as we can within the first 100 days, because that's how Arizona does its funding, as long as we're able to do those things together and keep kids in school, then that won't be an issue. But if we take our eye off the ball and we don't do the right thing as a community and come together, and charter schools become shinier, better options because we spend our time tearing up the work that Tucson Unified does, as opposed to building up the many good things that happen every day in Tucson Unified, then school closure isn't a maybe, it's a definite yes. So the only way we save our schools is by telling our neighbors and telling our friends and telling people who come in to the Midvale community, you know what, Grijalda Elementary is a great school and White is a great school, and you need to have your children in our schools. And I don't care what the charters say they offer, come and see what we offer and you'll be satisfied. And so it's going to be through our efforts that we build the district up and we stave off school closures. School closures happen intentionally. They happen when there aren't enough kids, because kids generate the funding that keeps them open, generates the funding that hires the teachers and staff, and generates the funding that pays for the lights and the electricity and the air conditioning. And so we all have to work together on that. That's not something that is the board's sole purview or my sole purview. It's the community's purview.
I've always had a problem with the way the district communicates meetings, where you're going. I didn't even know you were going to be at JVYC that day. I was at another event and I saw Crystal actually, and she told me about it. That's why I just happened to swing by. Has the district thought about any kind of public email list or something that you can opt into, that someone
That's a
can do
great
an
idea.
email blast that, you know, we're going to be here for a community organization? We had the old board used to announce on a Friday on some obscure place on some website that
good
they're having
idea.
an emergency meeting on Saturday.
I'm just joking. That's a
I'm
good
sorry.
idea. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, you know, that's something that I can take back to our director of communications, is a community listserv. And as a matter of fact, we're working through a marketing campaign right now, and we're getting the logistics together of how we can better engage our community. And so that's most definitely something that I'll look for as it comes out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. All right.
Just before you leave, I just want to tell the community that, and the principal on this side of town, you know, like, we are moving very good.
Yes.
Grijalva just changed into a B school.
Yes.
White Elementary was 4 points shy of the A. Warren Elementary became a B, and Van Busker became a B. So, you know, the west side is
Yes.
really, Southwest is really moving a lot. So we're really proud that we have a new superintendent who has a lot of our concerns in his heart. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
I'll pay you in the parking lot. So.
Well, now we're our own advertisers, so that's what we have to do.
No, and we will, and we'll do a better job of supporting campuses and advertising. But yeah, most definitely, you just did, I mean, that's the kind of news that needs to be spread. That's the kind of information that needs to be shared. And if we do that, we build it up. And if we say, funny deal, and then we walk off and forget it and don't tell anybody, we don't do that. So thank y'all.
Between
Again,
the
thank
two
y'all.
schools, we have 1,400 students.
Yes, and that's good. That's very good. Thank you so much.